that. Had a good time. Exodus 27 and 28, which we actually already covered 27. We started 28. I'm just going to run down through this real quick. Chapter 27 was all about constructing the altar, court of the tabernacle, care of the lampstand. And then what we're doing now is in chapter 28, talking about clothing for the priests. In fact, let's just get there right now. And the first thing that we're going to see is Aaron and his sons. Look at verse 1 of chapter 28. Now take Aaron your brother and his sons with him from among the children of Israel, that he may minister to me as priest. Aaron and Aaron's sons, Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar. Verse 2, and you shall make holy garments for Aaron your brother, for glory and for beauty. Now this is what they're doing, what God is doing. He's speaking to Moses, giving him instructions. And what he's doing is he's setting up the priesthood. Okay? There were going to be priests that would work in the tabernacle. And then what he says in verse 2, which is what this entire chapter is going to be about, is actually about clothes. For some of you, that may be very exciting. You love clothing, love to shop for new clothing. And here, God is concerned about the clothing the priests are going to wear. We'll talk about why that's important as we go through it. But let's not forget, we're going through a challenging section in Exodus, and here's why it's challenging. It's challenging because we're seeing a lot of instructions being given. Like today. Really? We're going to talk about clothing? But let's not forget the overall picture. What God is doing, the way that he's instructing Moses, it all is concerning the tabernacle. Some of you may not know what the tabernacle is. Anybody in here, is there anybody that can tell us what the tabernacle is? Anybody? Yes. What is it?
The tabernacle was a place where the Israelites met with God.
Yes, thank you very much. Basically like their church, kind of, where they would go to sacrifice. There would be priests working in there. That's what he's setting up. The priests would be serving in there. So let's not lose sight that what God is, the big picture here is that God is setting up this system of worship. And how fitting that is, especially for those of us that were at the one-day event yesterday, that theme of worship continues. Here's God concerned about the worship that the people will give to him. He's also concerned about being able to communicate with the people. So that's what he's setting up here. I say all of that because I don't want you, as we're reading through this, to go, oh, no, yeah, this is really boring. It's clothing. I don't really understand any of this. Who cares? If it's important to God, then God help us that it would be important to us. Okay? So here we see that God is calling out specific people. Aaron and Aaron's sons. Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar, his 4 sons. And he wants them to be the priests. And then he says, and you shall make holy garments for Aaron your brother, for glory and for beauty. He is going to use that term again later on in the chapter, for glory and for beauty. So let's just set it straight right now. Let's talk about what God is not doing. He's not just making them fancy clothes for their own glory and for their own beauty. He wants them to have this special clothing for glory and for beauty, but it's for glory to be given to God. And the beauty, what these things are going to represent is, as the priest puts these on, it would represent God to the people. God wants for his people to understand that the sacrifice, the worship that they are going to be involved in is something special. And so they need to be mindful of it. And I love this part beginning in verse 3, actually verses 3 and 4. We see, not only after Aaron and his sons, we see artisans are chosen, verse 3. So you shall speak to all who are gifted artisans, whom I have filled with the spirit of wisdom, that they may make Aaron's garments to consecrate him, that he may minister to me as priest. And these are the garments which they shall make: a breastplate, an ephod, a robe, a skillfully woven tunic, a turban, and a sash. So they shall make holy garments for Aaron your brother and his sons, that he may minister to me as priest. So he gives us a rundown. Here's what I want you to make. Now the rest of the chapter is going to give more detail about each of those items. But notice in verse 3, there's a couple of things that I want to mention. So you shall speak, this is God speaking to Moses, so you shall speak to all who are gifted artisans. We talked about this last time. I'm going to make mention of it again because I love it so much. I love that God is calling on those who are gifted artisans. Now, what do you think, if you want to take a guess, what does he mean by gifted artisans? What does he mean by saying that they were gifted? Anybody? Anybody? What do you think?
God gave them that talent?
Yes, spot on, Melissa. Thank you very much. God had gifted them that way. You see, not all of us are gifted with rhythm, are we? How many of us in here would admit this morning, I ain't got no rhythm? I got none. I'm trying to Jordan is lifting his hand, but we all know he's lying because we've seen him on the cajon. He's got rhythm, right? I've got rhythm, right? You got rhythm, okay? The hand-eye coordination. Not everybody has that. So not everybody is good at athletics, okay? Some people are gifted that way. Even the ones that are gifted have to work hard at it to perfect it and train. But we all know that there are some athletes that are just gifted that way. Other people are gifted in other areas. Some of you've got the brains, man. You can look at things, figure out problems, math problems, word problems. You can figure those things out. Lots of people, we're all gifted in different ways. Here, he says these are gifted artisans, and then he goes on to say in the very next breath, whom I have filled with the spirit of wisdom. Now, it does not mean that they just had, now they may have been generally wise, but when he said that they were filled with the spirit of wisdom, that God had filled them with the spirit of wisdom, means that they had wisdom in their particular area of artistry. In this case, it would be those individuals who were skilled at making clothing. Now keep in mind, they did not have a local Walmart to go shopping at for their clothes. Or a whatever store you might go to, your Forever 21 or your H&M or wherever you might go, didn't have those. So they had to make their own clothing. And there were some that were very good at making their own clothing, because he calls on them to make these special garments. And then he says, listen, I've made them for this purpose, whom I have filled with the spirit of wisdom in making this, that they may make Aaron's garments, to consecrate him. That means to set him apart, that he may minister to me as priest. The clothing that he is going to wear, Aaron, and then there's going to be clothing for his sons also, will identify them as priests. So these were to be special clothing. Today, we still see the same thing in many churches or in many different denominations. We don't do it here, but there are lots of denominations where the leader of the church, the priest or maybe the pastor, lots of different names, it might be called bishop, different things, but sometimes they wear a uniform. It might be the collar, you know what I'm talking about, the little white collar, okay? Might be the suit all the time, black suit, might be robes. We don't do that here, but that's the same idea, is that, that's the pastor, or that's the priest, or that's the leader. So this clothing would signify them as being those people that were the priests. But he wants these people to make this clothing. Verse 4. Well, we've already read that. We know he gave us the list. Let's move on to verse 5, where we see the articles. It says in verses 5 through 14, something called an ephod. Now here is where you need to exercise your patience, because as we read through this, it's going to be, wait, what are they doing? We are, those of you that have been here for a little bit, you know that I try to find videos for each of these sections. I've got a short, crusty, corny little video for this section that we'll get to in a little while. I really need someone that's gifted in making videos to like come up with some new videos so that in 20 years when I reteach this section, we can have some more old crusty videos. Verse 5, the ephod. They shall take the gold, blue, purple, scarlet thread, and the fine linen. And they shall make the ephod of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and fine woven linen, artistically worked. I love it. It shall have 2 shoulder straps, not shoulder pads. Okay, it's not the 80s. Shoulder straps, joined at its 2 edges, and so it shall be joined together. Okay, we'll see this in a little bit. Verse 8. And the intricately woven band of the ephod. You want to pay attention to some of these terms, like where did it go? Like verse 5, fine linen. Verse 6, fine woven linen, artistically worked. Verse 8, intricately woven band of the ephod which is on it shall be of the same workmanship, meaning made of gold, blue, purple, scarlet thread, fine woven linen. Verse 9, then you shall take 2 onyx stones and engrave on them the names of the sons of Israel. Okay, so now we have this fine linen. We've got this different colored threads. Now we've got these 2 stones, 2 onyx stones. Engrave on them the names of the sons of Israel. Okay, 6 of their names on one stone, and 6 names on the other stone, in order of their birth. So 6 plus 6 equals
12.
Thank you very much. I know it's Sunday morning, it's early. I mean, goodness, it's already 12:13. You want me to think? 6 plus 6 is 12. So just to give you an idea, so not only the garments, but then they would have these special onyx stones that would go on the shoulders of the garment, okay? And they each one would have 6 names. Those names would be the names of the 12 tribes of Judah, okay? 12 tribes of Israel. And they would represent the 12 tribes, all of the people. Verse 11. With the work of an engraver. There it is. So not only were there those who were good, they excelled at making clothing, but now you have engravers that were part of the process also. And so there were those who were gifted not only in making clothing, but some that were gifted in engraving on onyx stones or stones. So everybody's got their gifts. I love it. I've said this before, I'm going to say it again. Those of you, again, that have been here, you've heard this before, just please be patient with us for a moment. Those of you that haven't been around for this entire study, I love this part. I know this may seem girly to some of the guys in here, but I love art. When I say love, I guess I shouldn't say love, but I really, really, really like art. I like to go to art museums. I like museums, but I like art museums. I really like art museums. And I love to go and see some painting by Monet or some painting by, some other famous artist. And it's like, the artist painted this thing hundreds of years ago, and it's still right here, like 10 inches from my face. This is incredible. I can remember going to I don't remember if it was the Simon, the name escapes me, sorry, out in Pasadena, the museum, or if it was out in LA, but seeing sketches of, I'm just totally losing it this morning, going blank, artist, inventor, it's like, yeah, that really narrows it down. What's that? Da Vinci, yes, that's exactly what it was. Thank you very much. Da Vinci, of course. I was almost there. I remember looking and seeing like sketches, Da Vinci sketches, of just like a hand. And just like you're looking at it and like, I can't believe this. Da Vinci sketched this thing. It's like from his little sketchbook, like, I just sketching some hands. It's incredible. So I love all of that. And then I come to the scriptures and I find out that God gifted those individuals that way. It's pretty cool. In May, we will have on a Wednesday night, we'll have one of our art mixers. I'll tell you a little bit about it later. But we've done one before where we allow all of you to bring your artwork and display it in here. It's not a contest. You don't get any ribbons. There's nobody voting on anything. It's just here on display for a night. And it's incredible. There are some of you out there, some of us in here, that are incredible artists. God has gifted you that way. Make sure that you're viewing it like that, like this, whatever I can do, God has given me the talent to do that. And then do your best to perfect it. But I love this here, that God is calling in these artisans who can make clothing, artisans that can engrave on stones. Verse 11, with the work of an engraver in stone, like the engravings of a signet. A signet would have been a ring or something, an emblem that they would have carried maybe around their neck even, that would indicate, hey, this is like my logo, my family logo. You shall engrave the 2 stones with the names of the sons of Israel. And then look at this in verse 11, you shall set them in settings of gold. And you shall put the 2 stones on the shoulders of the ephod as memorial stones for the sons of Israel. So Aaron shall bear their names before the Lord. That's the purpose of those stones. Aaron would go in to meet with the Lord. He'd have these stones with names on them on his shoulders. Sounds like some kind of like Mad Max uniform or something. Like, yeah, I got these big stones. So Aaron shall bear their names before the Lord on his 2 shoulders as a memorial. In other words, as he goes in to meet with the Lord, he's got the children of Israel, God's people, near to his heart, representing the people before God. Verse 13, you shall also make settings of gold, and you shall make 2 chains of pure gold, like braided cords. Now listen, a lot of you ladies in here, you can braid hair. You're good at it. You used to practice on each other when you were little. Now you can braid your own hair. A lot of us guys are not. I used to be able to braid, probably not so much anymore, when my girls, I had 3 girls when they were little, once in a while I would have to braid their hair. And it was like, sit still, But Dad, it's been 2 hours, just sit still, I'm getting it, I'm almost done. But I got fairly good at it. Nowhere near as good as what my wife could do, obviously. But I want you to those of us that have braided before, the ladies that have braided, you braid. The guys, all of the guys have probably tried braiding something, dog's tail, whatever, I don't know. You try to braid something, and you realize, man, this is really hard. Listen, verse 14, you shall make 2 chains of pure gold like braided cords. So it's not just braided, but it's made out of pure gold. And these artisans were tasked with making these things and fasten the braided chains to the settings. Again, if you're thinking, braided chains, settings, I don't really understand. We'll get a small picture of it in a little bit. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to do something different. Actually, this is really long. I was thinking out loud. Beginning at verse 15, we begin to talk about the breastplate. But here's what we're going to do. We're going to do something that we don't normally do on Sundays. I'm going to dare some of you to read. I'm not picking on you. Just if you want to volunteer, somebody read for us like verses. Let's see. Third row. Let's say 15 through 21. Who can read verses 15 through 21 for us, please? Thank you.
You shall make the breastplate of judgment. Artistically woven according to the workmanship of the ephod, you shall make it. Of gold, blue, purple, and scarlet thread, and fine woven linen you shall make it. It shall be doubled into a square. A span shall be its length, and a span shall be its width. You shall put settings of stones in it, 4 rows of stones. The first row shall be a sardius, a topaz, and an emerald. This shall be the first row. The second row shall be a turquoise, a sapphire, and a diamond. The third row, a jacinth, an agate, and an amethyst.
Yep.
And the fourth row, a beryl, an onyx, and a jasper. They shall be set in gold settings. And the stones shall have the names of the sons of Israel, 12 according to their names, like the engravings of a signet, each one with its own name. They shall be according to the 12 tribes.
Thank you very much. Excellent job. Verse 15, artistically. There it is, artistically woven. Not just thrown together. I remember one time at the previous church that I used to be on staff at, one of the little kids in Sunday school, little kid, had an accident in his pants. And normally they would keep clothes there for kids when they had an accident. Well, for whatever reason, they didn't have clothes to put on this kid. So I walk in. It wasn't my kid, okay? But it was my very good friend's son. I walk in, and the kid's he's got these shorts made out of that like foam construction paper, made out of those, stapled together. Because whoever the teacher was like, I don't know, I can't find it. It'd be like something I would do, like, I don't know, here, give me that foam paper, give me some staples, here, kid, put these on, Kids, he was so happy, he's just walking around, he didn't care. But that is not what God is doing here. God says it should be artistically woven. Pay attention, okay? The span shall be, verse 16, a span shall be its length. It's thought to be, a span would have been about the size of a hand, okay, so the span of the hand. And then you notice that there were going to be 12 of these beautiful stones in there, all representing, verse 21, the stones shall have the names of the sons of Israel. So each of the stones would have a different name of the children of Israel, each of the tribes. So pretty incredible. Okay, I'm going to ask someone else to read verses 22 through 25. Who's daring enough to do so? Verses 22 to 25. Yes, Leanna? Very good. Thank you very much.
You shall make chains for the breastplate at the end of braided cord of pure gold, and you shall make 2 rings of gold for the breastplate, and put the 2 rings in the 2 ends of the breastplate. Then you shall put the 2 braided chains of gold in the 2 rings which are on the ends of the breastplate, and the other 2 ends of the 2 braided chains you shall fasten the 2 settings and put them on the shoulder straps of the ephod in front.
Okay, thank you very much. Now that's, again, it's like, what, the 2 chains, the 2 braided chains, but keep in mind that what God is doing, remember, this involves worship. The meeting time between the priests and him, which really the priest would represent the people, so he wants it to be special. Verses 26 through 28. Who's daring enough to do so? Yes, thank you very much.
Make 2 gold rings and attach them to the other 2 corners of the breastplate piece. On the inside edge, next to the ephod, make 2 more gold rings and attach them to the bottom of the shoulder pieces on the front of the ephod. Close to the seam just above the waistband of the ephod, the rings of the breastplate piece are to be tied to the rings of the ephod with blue cord connecting it to the waistband so that the breastpiece will not swing out from the ephod.
Okay, thank you very much. Beautiful colors. I mean, they mentioned earlier that they were to use. Of course, I can't remember. They were so beautiful. I forgot what the colors are. They talked about the gold, the blue, the purple, scarlet thread, incredible colors. And now they talk about blue. Where did it go? Spray chains. What did we do with it? I lost it. Verse 28, using a blue cord so that it is above the intricately woven. So just all of the colors that are being used, the garments would have been beautiful. How about verses 29 and 30? Anybody daring enough to read those for us? This is a big, yes, thank you very much. Verses 29 and 30.
So Aaron shall bear the names of the sons of Israel on the breastplate of judgment over his heart, when he goes into the holy place as a memorial before the Lord continually. And you shall put in the breastplate of judgment the Urim of the
Urim and the Thummim.
and they shall be over Aaron's heart when he goes before the Lord. So Aaron shall bear the judgment of the children of Israel over his heart before the Lord continually.
Thank you very much. Yeah, Urim and Thummim. Say that 3 times fast, right? there is this breastplate of judgment here, and verse 30, this Urim and Thummim. What in the world are those? That is a good question. Nobody knows what they are. The best guess, this is the most common one and probably the best guess. Now, what we're talking about is this vest that this individual would be wearing actually had like a pocket. Imagine your favorite hoodie. Okay, it's got the cozy pocket in the front, little kangaroo pocket. Put your hands in there, like, keep your hands warm or whatever. That's the same idea. It would have this pocket in there, and the idea or the thought is that the Urim and the Thummim were two stones, and it's imagined that one would have been they would have been two different colors, whatever the colors were. One of the colors represented a yes answer. One of the colors represented a no answer. And it is believed that the priest could take these two stones, put them in his pocket, kind of mix them up inside of there. You said it was just two stones. Well, anyways, whatever. Kind of mix them up in there. And then that the priest could ask God a question. God, should we advance? Whatever the question might have been. And then the priest could say, please guide my hand as I put it into my pocket. If I pick the blue stone, that means yes. If I pick the red stone, that means no. Whatever it was. And that the priest could then stick it in, pull it out, open his hand, and realize, okay, this is God's answer. God, I prayed, God directed my hand to pull out the correct stone. So that's the best guess that we have. But, details. I love it. Look at verse 31 where we see the robe, actually verses 31 through 35. Anybody daring enough to read that? Yes? Kylie, please. Could you? Okay, she looks so excited to read. Okay, verses 31 through 35, please.
Okay. Make the robe that is worn with the ephod from a single piece of blue cloth, with an opening for Aaron's head in the middle of it. Reinforce the opening with a woven collar so it will not tear. Make pomegranates out of blue, purple, scarlet yarn, and attach them to the hem of the robe with gold bells between them. The gold bells and the pomegranates are to alternate all around the head.
Yes. Go ahead, verse 30.
Sorry.
Yeah. Okay, sorry.
Aaron will wear this
I'm getting
robe.
excited. Sorry. It's like, yes. Pomegranates, yeah.
Aaron will wear this robe whenever he ministers before the Lord, and the bells will tinkle, as he goes in and out of the Lord's presence in the holy place. If he wears it, he will not die.
Okay. This is incredible. In verse 32, there shall be an opening for his head in the middle. So it sounds like it's like a poncho. You go down to Mexico, you buy a poncho, pull that thing over, look like Clint Eastwood. Okay? And you put this thing, so that's what it sounds like. Like there's an opening, you put it on. And then I love here that verse 33, the hem of it shall make pomegranates. You make pomegranates of blue, purple, and scarlet all around its hem, and bells of gold between them all around. So you'd have the pomegranates and the gold bells. Pomegranates and the gold bells. So pretty incredible. Have all these things. Now what is confusing, or what's kind of a mystery? It's not kind of a mystery. It's a mystery. At the end of verse 35, wearing that would prevent you from dying. Now, a lot of good Bible teachers who are much better than myself believe, again, this is one of those areas where they have to kind of guess. They believe that these bells, they would obviously tinkle or jingle, and that the high priest would wear this they would have the holy place, and then they would have the Holy of Holies. So the priests could go inside of the tabernacle into the holy place. But then there was another curtain into the Holy of Holies that only the high priest could go into. And a lot of Bible teachers believe that the high priest would wear this garment with little bells on it, and that as he went in, that the bells, as they were moving, would indicate that the priest was actually still alive. And you go, wait a minute, still alive? Yes, because inside the Holy of Holies, does anybody remember what was in there? Inside the Holy of Holies, what's in there?
The mercy seat.
Yes, the mercy seat, which is on top of the Ark of the Covenant. Okay? You remember Indiana Jones? Okay? Ark of the Covenant? Remember the Nazis opened it up and they all melted? Okay? So that's what would happen here. No, I'm just kidding. That wouldn't happen. Okay? Scratch all that. So, but what would happen is the priest would go in and have these bells. And then if the bells stopped jingling, then it was presumed, because he was behind a curtain, the other priest would presume, they would think, okay, I think the high priest went inside and I think he's dead. Now you're like, well, why would he die? Again, good Bible teachers believe that it may have been a high priest goes in and he hasn't repented of his sins, or he's still holding on to some secret sin or whatever, got a bad attitude, whatever it was, and they actually believe that God may have struck the priest down. Some people even believe that they would tie a rope around the high priest's ankle, so that as he went in, bells stopped jingling, and it'd be like, "Hey, Aaron, you still okay in there?" "I think he's dead, guys." And they would grab the rope. They would grab the rope and actually pull him out. That is, it's conjecture. We don't know for sure, but that's a possibility. Okay? The coolest thing about that is that he got to work in his robe. Verses 36 through 38 tell us about the turban. Okay? 36 through 38. "You shall also make a plate of pure gold and engrave on it, like the engraving of a signet, holiness to the Lord. And you shall put it on a blue cord, that it may be on the turban. It shall be on the front of the turban." So it kind of sounds like this gold plate would be like something that could be tied around. Like your Naruto headband or whatever. It's like, okay, I'm going to put this thing on and tie it around. That's what it sounds like here. Verse 37, "And you shall put it on a blue cord so that it may be on the turban." Verse 38, "So it shall be on Aaron's forehead, that Aaron may bear the iniquity of the holy things, which the children of Israel hallow in all their holy gifts. And it shall always be on his forehead, that they may be accepted before the Lord." So it was something else to represent the people. And as the high priest went in to meet with God once again. How about verses 39 through 41, the tunics? Who can read that for us? Verses 39 through 41. Who is feeling dangerous today? Just feeling like, yeah, I feel like I'm just going to really live it up. On the edge, I'm going to read. You're like, no, what? Yes? Elijah, thank you very much. Daring. See that? See that? Daring. Verses 39 through 41, please.
"Weave the tunic of fine linen and make the turban of fine linen. The sashes to be the work of an embroiderer. Make tunics, sashes, and headbands for Aaron's sons, to give them dignity and honor. After you put these clothes on your brother Aaron and his sons, anoint or ordain them. Consecrate them so they can serve as my priests."
Thank you very much. For glory and for beauty, for dignity. Again, it's to set them apart. They're representing God to the people. And so they were to have these special tunics. Sorry. Verses 42 and 43. Who can finish it up for us? This is a fun one. Yes, in the back, please.
"And ye shall make them for linen trousers of coloring and beading. They shall reach from the waist to the thigh. They shall be on Aaron and on his sons, when they come into the tabernacle of meeting, or when they come near the altar to minister in the Lord's house, that they do not incur iniquity. It shall be a statute forever to him that is sustained."
Thank you very much. Excellent job. What is this all about? Trousers? They're to go from the waist to the thigh. Basically, I know this will sound funny, it was long underwear is what it was. And did you notice in verse 43 that they do not incur iniquity and die? What? These are some serious chonies, right? These things will save your life. Life-saving underwear. Incredible. Incredible. What was this all about? You and I need to understand this. That where they were at, right now they're in the wilderness of Sinai. Moses is up on Sinai. all around them, and when they get to the promised land, there would be people. There are people groups all around them. There would be people groups there in the land of Canaan and all around them. And many of these other nations or these other people groups worshipped gods. Okay? False gods, but gods. And sadly, for many of them, the worship included sexual acts, even nakedness on behalf of their priests. And if you were around earlier for our study in Exodus, you may remember he was telling them how to make altars. And he said, make them out of earth or make them out of stone, but keep them plain. And he told them, don't make any steps going up to some elaborate altar. And we went, well, why? Why doesn't he want them to make steps? Well, what he did not want was for the priests to go up the steps during worship. This is going to sound crazy, but it's absolutely true and it's valid. What he didn't want was for anybody to be able, this is the same thing here, to be able to see under the priest's robe. I don't need to see what you're working with. Keep it to yourself. It was so that no one would be distracted during worship. Here, it is the same idea. It is to set the priests apart. Not only to indicate to the rest of the people that, hey, this is the priest, but also to set them apart or different from all the rest of the peoples around them, the other nations. They have a long robe. God says, under the robe, you're to have these special undergarments. Incredible. How detailed God is, how concerned he is with worship being an act of holiness. Listen, I cannot put a trip on you about what you wear. And the truth is, I don't really care what you wear, okay? As long as you do not come in here in a bikini or, for the guys, some Speedos, okay? Because we will call the cops on you, okay? After we poke our own eyes out. But, however, I think that we can safely say that you and I at least need to be mindful about what we are wearing. To be mindful. Now, I don't know what that means for you. I know what it means for me. When I'm coming to teach the Bible, I want to try my best, just to give you an example, I want to try my best not to be a distraction to you as we're teaching. Now, maybe I can come in with a purple mohawk, and maybe it will not be a distraction to you. Maybe it's not a big deal. But probably it would be. You understand? Understandager? Okay? So I want to be mindful of those things. Now, some of the stupid shirts I wear, you might be like, well, that's really distracting. Why don't you quit wearing those stupid shirts? Sorry, not going to yet, okay? But do you get what I'm saying? For the priests, it meant body is completely covered. There's no chance of somebody being distracted during sacrifice or during worship by the priest, any part of the priest's body. There's none of that going on. There's not even a chance. God's got it covered with a long robe and the trousers underneath. There's no chance. So this is how serious God was about it. And you and I we want to be mindful between you and God about how we present ourselves. I don't think that wearing a certain kind of shirt or t-shirt or shorts or pants or shoes is going to give you any better standing before God or any less of a standing before God. I believe, I know in fact from the Bible that God loves you no matter what you've got on. There are people in other countries, tribes, in certain places who don't wear clothing. Does God not love them because they don't have clothing? No, absolutely not. That's silly. God loves them passionately. But for you and I here, we just want to be mindful of that. God wants his worship to be taken seriously. So Let's take it seriously. Isn't that cool how those of us that were there at the one-day event yesterday, the theme just continues. Let's be serious about his worship. Now, we've got a couple of videos, I think, where did the ladies take off? Let me see if this works, okay? The first one, sorry. It'll give you an idea of what we're talking about here, but sorry for the quality, okay? Computer people, it's your fault for not making a better video, okay? I blame it on you, okay? Let's see what we got here. Let's see if this works. Oh, was I supposed to? Oh. That's right, I had points. Sorry about that. Okay, you guys know all this stuff. Trousers. Let's see what we got. There it is.
Your brother Aaron and his sons, Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar, will be set apart from the common people. They will be my priests and will minister to me. Make special clothing for Aaron to show his separation to God. Beautiful garments that will lend dignity to his work. Instruct all those who have special skills as tailors to make the garments that will set Aaron apart from everyone else, so he may serve me as a priest. They are to make a chest piece, an ephod, a robe, an embroidered tunic, a turban, and a sash. They will also make special garments for Aaron's sons to wear when they serve as priests before me. These items must be made of fine linen cloth and embroidered with gold thread and blue, purple, and scarlet yarn.
All right, so it gives you just a little kind of sneak peek about what he was talking about. This second video is real interesting. This is where we'll finish. Remember the section on pomegranates and bells on the bottom of the priest's garment? Okay, this is really cool.
I'm standing beside the foundation stones of the western wall of the Temple Mount, some 60 feet underground. In 2012, archaeologists excavating here make an incredible discovery. They find a small golden bell in the shape of a pomegranate with the chime still inside. This immediately reminded them of the biblical passage in the book of Exodus, which describes the garments worn by the high priest himself. And in this description, it recounts that along the hem of the robes of the high priest were small golden bells in the shape of pomegranates. The archaeologists understood that they may have just discovered one of the bells from the robe of the high priest. Perhaps they thought that the high priest was walking above my head along the pilgrimage road some 2,000 years ago when his robe tore, the bell slipped off and was found 2,000 years later in the drainage channel here in the city of David, the place where Jerusalem began. Because when you're in the place where the Bible happened, the words of the Bible come to life.
For more great videos like this one, subscribe to the City of David's YouTube channel. Stay updated with all the latest content.
She reminded me of Abby. Yeah, she reminded me of you for some reason. The lady on the video. Kind of look like, I don't know, something about it. Okay. So just a cool little tidbit there. We're going to close in prayer here in just a moment.